this is most definitely Cuban territory, sir. I mean, we are leasing this base. Initial treaty in 1903 and a subsequent treaty in 1934. We've never had a signed treaty with the Castro government, but we're still operating under the 1934 treaty, and it is most definitely Cuban territory.
This is Camp X-Ray, and what I'll do is I'll get you over to the little bit of a high ground after we finish up inside. You can shoot down on it a little bit. As we proceed through the camp, you're going to see that it has a kind of like an old American West look to it. Almost like out of Nevada, 1865. Even some of the building structures are very, very worn at this point.
So have methods changed with the different buildings?
Methods?
Uh-huh.
You mean interrogation methods or stuff? Well, you have to talk to an intelligence guy about that.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about that. To the right is where they've been the detainees up. Negative. Platoon room. You gotta go to the next hut over. Everything is nailed down, like on a ship. Detainee would sit here, and if they wanted to, they could try to flip the table, so the table is nailed down. Interrogators would go over here, MPs back here, and the detainee would sit here, and they'd ask the questions from here. Not a lot to it. This is about it. Even the door handle. It was air conditioned, though. This set of cell blocks is one of the newer ones, and when you come inside you'll see that it has plumbing. It's not very modern plumbing, somewhat still primitive, but it is a basic improvement over the original cells that we saw earlier. Again, one person per cell. This one here has actually got very little vegetation on it compared to some of the others. This is a gravity-powered plumbing device. It's a toilet, except that it doesn't have any running water. Things were to run downhill. The cells on the far left, the pipe is higher up than the ones on the right, and then it just drains off into a drain at the end of each block. It's not very fancy, it gets the job done, and it does not flush. That's the shower head. It'd wash up. It's not as private as some Muslim men may prefer, but it gets the job done. A lot of species in Cuba aren't as prevalent as they are here, because this is almost like a protected, sort of like a wildlife sanctuary. There's no hunting here or anything like that. There are deer, but banana rats, which have been hunted pretty well over in Cuba, are thriving here, as well as the iguana, which you've probably seen them running around all over the place.
Just to say that it's the gulag of our time, when they haven't actually been here and seeing, my own personal opinion is that it's kind of ridiculous.
So you think it's an unfair characterization?
What, that it's a gulag? I don't believe so, no.
They know you by face. You know, some of them give you nicknames. I won't say them pet names, but they give you nicknames. Like I myself, they've called me Matthew. So they will ask for me by name if I'm working, and you know they'll talk. They'll talk about the weather, how the guard force was last night, the book that they're reading. I mean, a lot of them tend to be like in Harry Potter as of lately. So.
We also have 4 handicap cells, 1 on each wing. I'll show you those in just a minute. The only difference in a standard cell and a handicap cell is the sink and toilet, and this is the standard sink and toilet inside Camp 5. The items you see on the mattress, sir, are items consistent with a compliant detainee. We also have the arrow that points towards Mecca underneath each mattress. So no matter which cell the detainee's in, they know which way to face when praying. These are safety hooks. A detainee can hang a shirt or a towel, but they can't hang themselves. They break free under very little pressure.
Well, we approach it, pretty much like we do for somebody who has a suicidal ideation anywhere else. We try to counsel them and work through whatever the problems are to help them deal with the situation and get past their desire to do that. As far as the most recent episode, there were a couple of lacerations on the forearm that the individual managed to do, but there was no real threat to his life. But we haven't seen a big increase in, depression as a result of their being here.
We just get a request for interrogations because, of course, it's a ripple effect. The guards are the ones that have to escort the detainees from point A to point B and also provide the oversight and the observation for that. But we get schedules daily as far as who they want to see and at what time.
This is an interrogation room inside Camp 5. There are different levels of interrogation rooms in Camp 5. There are interrogation rooms similar to this one. There are interrogation rooms that just have padded chairs in it. And there's also interrogation rooms that have couches. And depending on the rapport the interrogator has with the detainee determines which interrogation room the interrogator wants. A couple of features I'd like to point out is there's 2 sets of cameras. There's an MP camera that's affixed to this wall here. It's a fixed mounted camera that cannot be manipulated, and that's monitored by our control. There's also a pan tilt zoom camera on this wall here. And also right behind you there's a duress button. If an interrogator would feel threatened for whatever reason, he could press the duress button. An audible alarm will sound in control and a red light flashes outside the cell.
It's depending on the rapport level. I mean, we have some interrogators, and I'm guess you're going to meet with them here real soon. They'll talk to you about some of their techniques and the way they do things. But we know that we've seen, and of course we see because obviously we observe what goes on in here. And at times, there might be Finding Nemo or Harry Potter type movies that they might show, just depending on what their techniques are for that day or whatever their plan is for that day.
We are now in Camp 4. This is the communal living. This is for detainees who are compliant with the rules and are cooperative with interrogations for the most part. They live communally as a result of that. We're in an outdoor recreation area outside of their living space. This is communal style living. They're in an open bay area. There used to be 12 beds in here, but that was too cramped for them, so we only have a maximum of 10. And as we pointed out in the other camps, the camp rules are posted in 4 different languages so that they all understand that it is a privilege to live here in Camp 4.
Again, hi, I'm Anthony Mendez. I'm the Joint Detention Group Command Sergeant Major. I've been here for about 29 months now, and what I want to do is just give you just a little layout of the camp itself. First of all, you're currently inside of Camp 3. The camps are named in the order they were built, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Camp 3 is known as to house the non-compliant detainees.
A bean hole is an opening in the cell that we use to pass the food through to them. It's a food tray. And it is also used, you see one up at the hands and one down at the feet. It is also used when we apply the restraints in order to transport them. So anytime that they leave their cell, going either out to recreation and shower, which I will show you after this, or taken to an appointment, they are restrained and 2 escorts take them to that appointment. These are very comparable. It's 6 by 8 by 8, and it's comparable to other cells in other facilities throughout the U.S. This would be the cell. Now wait a second, this would not be a cell for non-compliant, my bad. You'll have to erase that part. This is a cell for a non-compliant detainee. As you see, they would just be given the very basic issue items, which is their uniform, some toiletry articles, and flip-flops and towel. Again, the Quran is displayed in the same way. They are allowed to have their Quran.
There's been some substantiated cases of abuse where in one case over in Camp 4, a guard, instead of relieving himself, went behind one of the buildings, and the wind was blowing. He was urinating, and some of the urination came on in an event, and it splashed on the detainee's Quran. And I mean, those are the type of abuses. But there's nothing's been physical, any type of torture abuses. I've been here. I've been here 29 months.
The detainee would sit here. Traditionally, the defense is on the left, so the defense would sit here with the detainee sitting here. Prosecution sits on the opposite side. Over here are the panel members, which would be military officers that act as a jury. Here is the witness stand. The presiding officer sits here, and the court reporter sits over there. The booth behind me is for the translators to sit in to protect their identities. Being an enemy combatant and being held here at Camp Delta does not necessarily mean that you committed a war crime or will face a military commission. They could be released at any time if they're determined to no longer be a threat or no longer be of intelligence value. Not the entire population of detainees here will be charged with war crimes and will face a military commission. That will only be a percentage.
Cream and sugar?
Cream, sugar, absolutely.
Well, let me correct you there. It's not a prison. It's a detention facility. Okay, we don't have prisoners here. We have detainees. That's very, very important. The reason, because there's a whole lot of difference, but with the law of war, that or the Geneva Convention accords that we follow, we're not under the Geneva Convention, but we do kind of follow them. But they're not prisoners.
Following the human rights, the United Nations convention. Oh, you can
probably not.
Okay.
About it being here a long time, but
DOD level. DOD level. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. It's not really in their lane.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I believe what we're doing here is right, and I believe it's important that we tell our story and that we show members of the international community what we're doing, so they have a sense of it and a sense of who we're holding. And I think over time that will become even more and more clear.